Hey scrappers, if you're looking to figure out what materials you should sell this week or hold this week, now is the time to do it. Our weekly report is going to give you that information, up-to-date market news, pricing. Let's get right into it and we'll talk about it inside. Hey scrappers, Tom here from the iScrap app, and today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. Don't forget, we are doing this live at 1 p.m. Eastern. We try to go on every Wednesday at 1 p.m. So if you have questions, ask your questions, please. We'd love to answer them. And before we jump into things, if this is your first time visiting our page or you've been here a few times, don't forget to subscribe to our page and like our videos so you can be alerted when we have so many videos coming out. We try to get, at least 12 to 15 videos a month between everything getting out there. So make sure you're one of the first ones to know. And if you really want to know, check out our YouTube membership. So where are the markets? What are we looking at? So it's funny, here we are in the bookend of April, right? April comes in as an April Fool's on the 1st, and today is the 30th. I feel like I've been in a bit of an April Fool's for the last 30 days, just because these have been some of the craziest markets that I've ever dealt with in my career. I feel like every year I keep saying that. So I guess once a year, it's just going to be one of those things that happen, right? You have COVID and you have increases and decreases and $5 copper last year. So what do I see going on? Let's just go right into the copper markets. If you asked me yesterday, what do I think about copper? I'd be like, well, it stabilized. It had a really big dip down right after the Liberation Day. And then we saw kind of resurge back. And today we've seen it drop 5.5% or almost 30 cents. So what do I think about copper? I think that copper is being traded and is really being pushed as a speculative asset. What do I mean? I think that traders are moving copper contracts unlike anything that we've seen before. They're trading them really like they would be trading big stocks or big groups of stocks. When you have that happen, it really creates chaos, and that's what we've seen in the market today. Right today, I woke up and I saw at 442, copper prices were down 24 cents. I'm like, well, this is going to be an interesting day. At one point, it went all the way down to 32 cents. It just expands on what we've been talking about for the last month on how there's just a lot of uncertainty in the markets. So first thing that I did when I got to Rockaway Recycling, well, the second thing, first thing was our safety meeting. The second thing I did was immediately drop prices by 20 cents. And that really stinks, right? It really stinks to be able to do that first thing in the morning, because we quoted customers yesterday on markets and they said they were going to come in the morning, and it just creates hostility. So we've had videos about this, like what bothers you about scrap yards, or what do you wish your scrap yard would do? And if I were a customer that got a quote for Bear Bright yesterday, I think we were quoting out at 380. And by 8 a.m. this morning, we were down to 360. I'd be pretty ticked off too. And that doesn't mean that, there's not a reason. But again, these are things that happen that really create chaos in the markets and create confusion. So copper right now, I still have it as a sell item. I'm not holding it, right? I don't have many friends that are holding it. Spreads are larger, but you still get really good prices. I mean, I'm paying $3.60 for Bear Bright. So I still think that we have a good market run rate. I got yellow brass like 215, 220, number one tubing, 340. We have strong numbers still. So anyone that's going to sit here and say, I'm going to wait for $5 copper again. Well, you may wait for it, but you're going to need copper to trade at $6 to get $5 a pound. I mean, so what are we talking? We're looking at markets at 460. You need another $1.40. It's a 25% increase. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Or more, 30% increase. So when I look at that, I just say, okay, I don't know where we're going with these copper prices, but it doesn't look to be anything good. The second thing that I just want to point out briefly is the strengthening U.S. dollar. I don't talk about this very often, but the U.S. dollar has been gaining a little steam. And when that happens, it makes it so that the commodities that you're purchasing, which are priced out in dollars, they can become more expensive to hold. So certain, industrial, large scale people that have millions of pounds of copper, which there are people out there, companies, traders, different funds, what do they do with that material? So it becomes a little wonky when you have the US dollar strengthening. That's why you see some of these huge ups and downs. Quite frankly, I'm really shocked that we saw copper go all the way down to 410. That didn't shock me as much as it coming back to 490 in like 2 weeks. That's what was really surprising. It really made it confusing. So you're probably confused by that. So if you do have questions on it, ask now, and I'll try to get to those answers, during our live feature, or we'll answer them later on. What else is going on with the markets? Let's just talk about a couple of things that we've seen from a outside the industry could affect the industry point of view, and then I'll talk about some other steel prices. I'm going to quote here. Trump has signed an executive order to accelerate offshore deep sea mining for critical minerals like cobalt, nickel, manganese, and copper. This order aims to reduce U.S. reliance on China and bolster economic and strategic mineral independence. This is from the Financial Post. In addition to this, we read an article that talked about Ukraine and the United States signing a mineral deal today. That materializes. Is it going to affect the markets immediately? No, absolutely not. These are things that take time, right? You want to take deep sea mining. Well, what do you think? They just have, ships ready to go above the land and start pulling stuff out? No, that's not how it works. Same in Ukraine. You sign a deal, it could be 2 years before we're pulling, minerals and metals out. So these aren't going to be things that affect the markets today, but they are going to be things that affect the market for the tomorrows when we look at them. Adding more inventory into the markets, especially as we try to reduce our reliance on the Chinese, will be a strong thing. But we're going to go through a period of time for the next 6 to 18 months where it takes a lot of recalibration. And it really is going to be a little difficult when you're looking at specialty alloys, magnets, things like that the Chinese have such a grasp on the market on. So it's going to be one of those things that we look at and just learn as we go, because these are uncharted territories. So you have some questions, Virginia?
Yeah.
Great. Leonard says, do you know which brand of circuit breaker have the silver connectors in them? I don't know a specific brand because we've pulled them out of many brands. I know ABB, Westinghouse, those definitely could have them. Square D could have them in there. It all depends on more of the application. So when you're having silver connectors, they're generally not in the residential area. They're more in the commercial area. So hopefully the bigger breakers will be what you look for. Hopefully that helps. Next question. The 88 BMG says, how are the markets for aluminum cans? Well, aluminum prices are strong. I don't buy aluminum cans at Rockaway Recycling, but when I've looked at some of the reported prices, I think the national average is around 65 cents for aluminum cans. Some people in certain states that have redemptions have seen prices go higher. I know that I quoted a customer recently that had some brand new cans that they were getting rid of in the 75-cent range. So there is higher numbers out there. It all depends on the grade, the quantity, and what scrapyard you're going to. Cans are really tough. Let's see here. Some reported prices, 70 cents, 55, 80, 57, and a 57-cent national average. So, there's an idea. Hopefully that gives you an idea what you're looking at and gives you, a little leg room to learn. Red Rum says, less than 1 month ago, I was getting 60 cents a pound on aluminum and 8 cents on steel. Today, it's 45 on aluminum and 6.5 on steel. Well, that's going to go right into my next topic of aluminum and steel prices. Aluminum prices are down slightly. I don't know if you should see a 25% drop. That sounds a little excessive. I haven't changed my aluminum prices in the last 24 days, if that helps you at all. If anything, I've increased them slightly. On steel, scrappers, I didn't want to talk about steel, but I will. It is, everyone says, I think, what's the guy who says steel's the meal? Steel's going to be really rough. We saw 40 to 50 bucks come off the market this month, and I got off the phone 20 minutes ago with a guy that says we may see another $30 to $40 a ton coming off the market in the month of May. Steel is going to be in the doldrums. It is getting flushed down the toilet, and prices are going to be really poor. I don't recommend holding it. I'm certainly not. As soon as my dumpsters fill up, they are getting shipped out. We're not seeing strong markets for steel. We're actually, I talked to someone in that same phone call 20 minutes ago who had 6 different contracts canceled by the steel mill. So contracts he took out to sell at whatever price per ton were canceled, which means that all that money that he either spent on something or was planning on doing was completely changed. So it's getting really difficult. Scrap yards are going to drop their prices a lot. I am not going to be surprised to see this happening. And even as we see oil and gas prices weakening, we're going to continue to see steel prices kind of suck. I don't know what other way to put it. Our 175 on our 45-day average, we're down 16%. You should start looking at these prices real closely. 6 cents, 165, 110, 180. I think we're going to see these markets drop $30 a ton in the month of May on top of the 40 or 50 that we lost in April. So not going to be good. Benji 33, piles of steel are stacking up in the scrap yards as an indicator. The indicator for a couple things would be, are they holding for prices to go higher? If your scrapyard is a big scrapyard and has space, they may start to hold higher grade items, rotors, HMS, P&G, P&S. Their light iron, their shred may continue to move. If they're a shredding operation, that won't sit idly. But heavier cut grades of material, if you start to see those piles going higher and higher, your scrapyard is betting on future pricing. But if you don't have the ability to store the material, then there's no reason to hold on to your stuff to wait for it to go higher, because you're going to be double, triple handling it. So hopefully that helps you out, Ben. Steel prices, are really, really poor. They're being heavily affected by these tariffs. They're really having a problem when it comes to where the market's going to bottom out. I heard the market was going to bottom out after we hit 25 under. We're now 50 under, with another 30 coming. So I am not holding my steel. I don't recommend you hold your steel. I recommend that you get it out as quickly as you can, unless you're taking it apart like an air conditioner where you're making more money on the non-ferrous. But this is not a good market, people. This is a bad steel market. It's going to get worse. Scrapyards aren't going to stop buying, but they're going to get super, super passive on their pricing. There's a guy that I deal with every single day. We sell him loads of steel. And the other day, his prices were like $25 a ton lower than a guy that he always beats. And I just called him and I said, hey, what's going on? And he goes, I'm just not getting aggressive. He goes, every time I, raise the prices or decrease them $5, they're going down by another 10 to 15. And it makes me look dumb. So I dropped it down lower and I'm just going to move it, as I move it. So I don't see a lot of good here. We have a lot of question marks, right? There's going to be a lot more question marks coming until we start to see trade deals materializing, tariffs, being diminished on countries that we really do a lot of business with. We're in for a very tough road. So hopefully that helps you. Aluminum prices, we've talked about a little bit. They are down slightly, but still strong overall. Stainless steel markets had a bit of a downfall where nickel prices went to like 13,000 a ton. They're now, back to 15,000 a ton. But we're going to be looking at these prices very closely, because cheap iron is going to make your stainless cheaper as well. So we just don't see a lot of growth opportunities for the stainless markets. But because prices are still down, it is one of the few items that I could or would recommend holding if you have the time, the space, and the energy to really wear it out. It's going to be a few years until we see stainless prices moving heavy. One thing I want to talk about, Catalytic Converters, sponsored by rrcats.com. Cat prices are so flat, it's almost unreal. We've seen the catalytic converter markets just kind of flatline themselves for 8-9 months. I got an email the other day from someone who wanted to buy my cats. The markets are up. The markets are up. It's like, yeah, all right. Well, they're up like 1.5%. That doesn't mean that they're up, in my opinion. 5% is where I would start to see an upward trend. Unfortunately, these markets are not strong. But they also aren't weak. We haven't seen them weaken in the last 8-10 months, as we've been quoting very consistent markets and prices. And there's something to be said about consistency. I wish I had a consistent copper market right now. But we're just in a new phase of learning and negotiating outside of the country. And again, these are going to be things that take time to really evolve and move forward. So other than that, a couple things we saw. London Metal Exchange is working with stakeholders on establishing price premiums for sustainable metals like aluminum, copper, nickel, and zinc. Metals with recycled content would be eligible for these premiums, potentially impacting scrap metal markets and aluminum wheel recycling values. This moves help climate goals and directly contributes to the resilience of the critical mineral supply chains. So what I take from articles like this is that there's going to be changes going on in the markets. And a lot of this has been spurred by the current administration, from the tariffs, from the trade talk, from reciprocity, from overall U.S. reliance on outside countries for minerals and precious metals. So it's going to be something to watch for, and it won't be resolved anytime in the next few weeks or months for sure. This is going to be something that takes time, but I do have a lot of optimism when I'm looking at these markets, looking at the future out there really is going to be strong. Hopefully borrowing costs start to come down. That will contribute to more economic growth. I think I heard President Trump say the other day that almost $6 trillion, if not more, has been committed into building things inside of the U.S., whether it's chip plants, cell phone plants, or car manufacturing facilities, to name a few. So these are things that, again, we're going to watch for. How are they going to increase the markets? How are they going to help the prices for you, the scrappers? Another question. Dinesh, do you deal in transformer scrap? Yes, I do. Chances are that you're looking to buy from me. You're welcome to email me, and we can go from there. But yep, we do transformers all the time. So scrappers, my name is Tom from Rockway Recycling and the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. Don't forget, we go live every week, Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions, let us know. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like these pages. And if you watch this when we were not live, please ask questions, because we will get to those answers, whether we respond to them in the next few days or we talk about them next week. And if you're looking to learn more about the markets, become a YouTube member of ours, giving you early access to our member-only videos and other videos before we release them to the public. So scrappers, again, Tom from the iScrap app. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. Appreciate you tuning in and asking your questions. Until next week, I'll scrap you later.